Good morning, all you beautiful people. It's a new month, which means a new podcast with Jake. We've been banking these for once he's gone, and he leaves in just a few weeks now. And I'm doing this with him. It's made me realize just how much I'm gonna miss this guy for 9 months. But you know what? Every month you get a podcast with him in it, and it's been such a good experience doing these shows and stuff. It's the first time I've really felt like myself since pre-COVID and everything. Finally having this outlet and getting to talk with one of my greatest friends. And this month we're talking about one of my favorite things ever, movies, of course. Today is our top 10 favorite movies of all time. My top 10 and Jake's top 10. So you got 20 movies. If you haven't seen any of them, of course, we recommend them. They're some of our favorites. Maybe they'll be some of yours. But I'm so grateful for Jake doing this. And we're definitely going to stay in touch. And we've got some big plans in the future for when he gets back. But it's going to be a lot of these 9 podcasts. They're going to be a lot of fun to release and look back on. So that's today's podcast, Jake and Johnny's top 10 favorite movies of all time. Now that's a high demand. Have a lovely day and take care. This is the weird thing about these podcasts is like instead of the fade-ins, we have to like actually intro things, which I hate doing.
Yeah.
Like I hate doing it for the commentaries and stuff. It's like my least favorite part.
Yeah.
It's like the most interesting, like the most important part of the show is like that 10 seconds where they're gonna like either decide to click off or stay on the content.
Oh, that's the scary part.
I'm just gonna use this now because we've started talking, but now we did other lists, but we're doing today's list. It's Jake and Johnny, our top 10 favorite movies of all time, and this is gonna be a list that this is gonna be a fun day with my voice. This is gonna be a list that I know I'm gonna ramble for a bit. And I think we're gonna handle this the same way we're handling the other list. We'll go 10, 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, so on and so forth.
But if you want me to go first this time,
let's
so that you
go.
can talk about your number one last.
Yeah, well,
because I want to give you the most time to talk about your number one.
Because I know you're definitely talk about movies, or you definitely probably have more music insight than I do. But like movies or something I can talk about forever.
Yes, I'll give you the
Jake,
stage for.
What is your number 10?
So this is gonna sound pretty weird.
Talk towards the microphone.
My number 10 is actually the third Cinderella movie. And
all right,
I only put that because
this is where we're at, folks.
I'd like to highlight the fact that Cinderella 1, basic. Cinderella 2, lame. Cinderella 3.
Are you talking about the animated one?
Yeah.
So that's like the time travel one, right?
Yes. Epic action adventure.
You know I'm going to force you to do a commentary for this now, right?
Dude, I could honestly rave about that movie. And not because like, oh yeah, it's got the best storytelling or anything like that. It's just because they took Cinderella, a very vanilla property, and just added in like the craziest stuff. Like, I don't know. It's just like taking the fairy godmother's magic and using it for evil is just such a good idea to me. And the fact that Disney did that in the Cinderella canon just makes it all the better.
Every podcast you say one thing that I was just not expecting, and that was it. We got it out of the way early.
And since we did mentions for songs for the bands,
yeah,
I want to do my favorite line for this movie.
witches.
My favorite line is when Cinderella is fighting Lucifer.
Wait, what?
Wait. I should give
I have
context.
not seen this movie.
Lucifer is the cat.
Yeah, that's the cat's
okay.
name.
I was making sure people knew that, just in case they didn't. They didn't know Lucifer was the name of a cat in the movie. He turns into a human. He tries to take Cinderella away from her wedding so that they can do their evil plan or whatever. And she kicks him off the cart and says, "Bad kitty." Like, it's like too much of an awesome action movie line for Cinderella.
Like, that's the yippee-ki-yay motherfucker
well.
of Cinderella 3.
Yes. It's amazing.
Is this a movie you grew up with? Is this
okay. It's the nostalgia. It's not like that I went on and found this movie and now I love it. It's like I remember this movie since I don't even know how long.
All right. So, my number 10
Mhm.
is a movie I made you watch, which is called Your Name.
Oh, that was such a good movie.
Your Name, and also I knew Matt was going to kill me if I didn't put this movie on this list, but
yeah.
Your Name, it's an anime movie. The reason I like it so much is like, if it's a body swap, like romance type movie.
Yeah.
But the number 10 slot on this list was the hardest for me to fill out. Like, I spent a good hour. Like, it took me a little bit to do all the other ones, but it took me an hour to think, what is number 10 going to be? And I have 11 honorable mentions, which we won't forget this time.
It's crazy to me that Your Name is at number 10, because if that's the bottom, I cannot wait to see what you have for the rest of your list.
And here's the thing, it almost lost out to Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I actually considered that one for my list.
It almost lost out to that movie.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I need to show my love of animation in this list. And those two movies are both pieces of art.
Yeah.
They're insanely good movies. And like, Roger Rabbit is like such a good look at like, and like parody of like the Warner Brothers and Disney style of like cartoons and stuff. But
yeah.
Your Name is a good, like, it's a good romance movie, which, like, I don't know if people would assume I'm into that, but like, a good romance can make or break a movie for me.
I'm pretty sure I cried when we watched Your Name.
It's an emotional movie.
Yeah.
My favorite part, the movie's gorgeous, the animation is flawless, but my favorite part of the whole movie is one detail that you might not even notice your first time watching it. Your Name, because it's a story about body swapping, but it's in a very modern day. So it's this guy and a girl who are in two very different places. Well, the guy's in Tokyo and the girl is in like rural Japan, like on farms and growing rice and stuff. So when they start swapping bodies, they immediately just do the logical thing and text your phone to see who is in your body.
Yeah.
Whose person is this that I'm switching? And they're able to communicate with one another. And I don't give like the twists and turns away, but the key thing I love in that movie is watching how, as an actor, if I was given this scene and was like, all right, you have to act as a guy, or if I was given this scene, it would be, you have to act as a girl trapped in a guy's body, trying to act the way that a guy thinks a girl's body language is. The movie is insane with its body language.
Yeah.
So it's this character trying to act the way that they think they should be acting, which isn't the same as what it actually is. And it's such a complex thing to portray. And the fact that they do it in animation, like, you have more control, I guess, but it's like, that's such a level of detail you have to watch. And I'm such a I love animation so much. I love cartoons. I love all of that. And I could analyze, and when we do TV shows, I know it's gonna be mostly animated stuff.
Yeah.
But when we get to with that movie, it's just like every frame is a painting. Like, anything from that movie is gorgeous, and I like the characters. The story is good. The romance itself is great. I think that's about it for what I can talk about without spoiling too much. We will, for these lists, go mildly into spoiler stuff, but I'm gonna try not to say anything big unless I give a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't spoil anything.
Okay. So, Jake, you're number 9.
All right. So my number 9 is less weird. It's Incredibles 2.
Okay, yeah. Now here's the thing: I considered Incredibles 1 and 2 for my list.
Yeah, because I really love, and as much as I love number one, I really like how they dived even deeper into their world building.
Yeah.
In Incredibles 2, because yeah, we already saw what happened with Syndrome and what happened with the superheroes, but seeing other superheroes that were inspired by what the Incredibles did is really good for me too, because I like seeing the different universes that they're able to make through that.
Incredibles 2 really takes most of everything that came with the first movie and really hypes it up, which is what a sequel should do. And we had a long gap between
Yeah.
that sequel. The only thing that I don't like about that movie is the villain.
The obvious twist.
The obvious twist that
Yeah, I
Pixar and
agree.
Disney have been doing forever now, and it's just not a good, like, we came off of Syndrome.
Yeah.
Syndrome was such a good villain, and I think it would have been hard to follow him with anything, but even if they weren't following Syndrome, I don't think I would be too into their idea.
Syndrome kind of started the trend because he was introduced in the beginning of the movie as the little sidekick kid, and he was a twist villain.
I guess
They
you're
did the same
right.
thing with Prince Hans. They did the same thing in Big Hero 6 with I forget what the guy's name is, but they've done so many twist villains at this point.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
I think I gave Syndrome a pass because I liked what he was saying. I liked what I liked his ideas. I liked what he was saying. Like, I don't not I'm not saying kill all the superheroes. What I'm saying is, like, I liked the concept of the villain being the whole idea of everyone will be super, so no one can be. Which is definitely my favorite line from the first.
No, I really respect that too. Like, if a villain is crazy or off the hinges, it's easy to place them as the villain. But putting someone who's actually smart and has a good point as the villain, I think just gives movies a lot more substance. Because you're not fighting against somebody who can't control themselves. You're fighting against someone who is very much in control of themselves, and that just makes it 10 times better.
I did like. I'm shocked that movie didn't give more people seizures.
Which one?
Incredibles 2.
Because of the scene where she breaks into the apartment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, also it's like, it's kind of cool to see. That movie had a few scenes where I'm like, what is this movie's rating? Because there's some points where Elastigirl, like, makes a glass of whiskey. And I'm like, oh, okay, is this the movie we're in now? I wasn't expecting this.
Dude, but the scene where she's tracking down the
Screenslaver?
Yeah, between the scene where she's tracking down the screenslaver using that little handheld device during that newscast, where she's like flying and stretching through the city. I thought that scene just had it flowed so well, and it just looked so good that I loved it so much. And I know it's kind of a simple scene to point out, but it's just like the way that they play with Elastigirl's powers and her movement. I like that a lot.
Okay. Before we move on to the next thing, we need to pause for a second. I'm back. Sorry we had some noise disturbance.
Keep it down up there.
it's I was like, that is a lot of noise. I'm gonna have to go say something.
Say close the door.
Okay, especially because I was listening. I was like, I couldn't focus on what you were saying about Incredibles because I was just like, I wonder if this is gonna pick up on the audio or not.
I honestly don't think it is, but I
think
see what
it
you mean
might.
because I could hear it in the background while I was talking.
I think it was so hard to focus. All right, we're moving on.
It's our ADD. We can't do it. We can't
It's the
function.
fact that we're stupid.
It's not even ADD. It's just our IQs.
All right,
They can't.
what are we on to? Number
sink or
9.
Swim. Yeah.
Number 9.
Wait. Oh, I guess number. Oh yeah, you're on number 9. Okay. I just did my number 9. Sorry, I forgot we switched order.
Wait, what happened now?
I thought.
Yeah, okay, that's right,
Yeah.
because we're on. Okay, never mind. I'm on number 9. this was my MCU movie because I had to throw. The MCU is such a
Ooh.
monumental feat for cinema that I had to include at least one movie in it.
I feel like we had the same one.
We might have the same one, and if it's higher on yours, we'll wait to talk about it until we get to yours. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. We have the same?
Wait, which number is mine? Oh, that's higher up my list.
Okay.
But we will definitely both talk about it because I know you have a lot to say about that
I have
movie.
a lot to say about that movie. We'll wait until we get to yours. So what was your number 8? We'll get to that.
So my number 8 was actually
Talk towards the mic.
I had to read the list.
I know you do.
Anyway,
but
it was a movie that I like more in concept than I did the actual movie, which not to say that I don't like the movie because it's on my list.
No, I have a couple movies like that.
But It Follows.
Oh yeah.
Just because I love the idea of.
I didn't have any horror on my list.
I had 2 horror on my list because I had to put my 2 favorite horror movies on there, or the 2 ones that I keep going back to, just because I love talking about the elements that make them such good horror movies to me. Which is like the reason I put It Follows, just because I believe it's an amazing horror concept.
It's a really good It's like the idea of this thing that's always coming towards you. It's like that one. You remember Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?
Yeah, that was actually a really, really good movie.
You remember that movie was strangely good, but you remember that one creature that they're running in the hallways and it's down every hallway.
Oh my god,
It's like that, but there's what I like about the movie is there's clear rules to this creature and how it operates, and you can get rid of it, but at what cost, and are you willing to put that to somebody else? And
yeah, that's another reason I like it, is just because it's not a movie like you get a movie like Friday the 13th, or
it's just not a slasher.
Or you get a movie like Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like something you basically can't escape. It Follows, you can escape, but you have to really make that decision that you are completely okay with the guilt you'll live with. So it's either living with constant stress or living with constant guilt, which is really terrifying if you think about it.
It's a moral dilemma, and the stuff itself, it's there's some frightful moments, but it's a constant unease.
Yeah.
And the idea with shapeshifters too is
they can look like anyone. That's one of my favorite parts about it.
I know, it's just who can you trust,
But you sort of always know because in that one scene where she looks out the window and she just sees it walking straight towards her. And she's in the middle of a class too. It's because you have to kind of look like a crazy person because no one else can see it. So it's you're basically, it's not even about dying because this thing isn't that fast. You can get away from it. It's about sacrificing everything to get away from this thing. That's what I like.
When it comes to creative horror movie monsters, I would put that pretty high. It's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
There's definitely there's creatures. One of my honorable mentions was Alien, and it was just because it was part of the reason I love that movie is because of I love the design or the ideas of this monster.
Yeah.
It's you can create this ultimate threat to, and the ultimate threat to one character is not always the same to another.
Yeah.
But the big threat for that movie fits the tone of that movie. While the xenomorph and Alien, that makes sense. It's you have this creature. It's not only is it a great hunter, not only can it blend into these dark environments in space, but it can also use acid and eat through the whole of your ship. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When it comes to creative monsters, I'm always on board.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I agree. That one's an amazing, that's why I like that game that they made of it so much, is because it's a game where you basically have to hide for the first until you get the flamethrower, you're basically screwed. And I love that actually.
And then there's with It Follows, it's I completely forgot what I was gonna say. Never mind.
It's just the same thing. You're basically screwed.
I find it super creepy that it walks all the time. That's what I was gonna say. It's the walking is how is this? This is more terrifying.
It's almost like confidence, even though it's a monster and
I don't even
never
see
talks,
it as that. I almost see it as not an unstoppable force, but just this constant, like, not even like this thing is malicious,
Yeah.
but this thing is just a force in nature that's going to keep moving. It's going to keep going no matter whether you stop it or whether you don't.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that exists and you're in its path.
Yeah.
All right. Are we to 8?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 8. My number 8 is a comedy. Now, I tried not to have any repeat directors. That was my thing for this.
Yeah.
But I did end up with 2 repeat directors on my list.
I guarantee you I have no repeat directors.
Okay. And this one is an Edgar Wright film. One of my favorite comedies, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
That one's on mine too.
Is it on your list?
Yep. And it's actually pretty. It's higher up there, but again, I know we both have stuff to say about this.
Okay. Well shit. Okay.
No, we keep doing this.
I know we're two similar people. Let's just go ahead and talk about Scott Pilgrim then.
Yeah.
Scott Pilgrim, I honestly did not expect this to be on your list, but this movie should be studied for its editing and its design.
Yeah.
When you take this, it took a graphic novel and adapted it in a way that nothing had really tried to do it in its way. I guess the closest thing I could think of to try to stylize it like a graphic novel was the 2003 Hulk, where all the weird panels were editing everywhere. But
Yeah.
Scott Pilgrim did that, but good is the thing.
Definitely.
Where you have these moments of it exploding off the screen and like all like the
finally back.
This is what technical difficulties look like, folk. Between noisy surroundings and the computer crashing on us.
Let's say it's this podcast specifically because the music one went uninterrupted. And
Uninterrupted,
pretty well.
completely fine. Of course, it's the one I was excited about. It's like, well, and it's. So I was talking about Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim, it immediately got the tone of right off the bat by. The opening of the movie is the Universal logo, but it's pixelated.
Yeah.
I think the movie immediately sets the tone for what it's gonna be. Excuse me. For what it's gonna be with that second, and the editing of the whole movie is just. It's quick. It's to the point. It keeps you engaged. If it's something boring, they cut away.
Yeah.
One joke. In particular, because I said it's like one of my favorite comedies. One joke in particular has always stuck out to me because it's such a perfect scene. So it's when Knives opens the door to Wallace and Scott's house. So the camera works, it moves to the left, and then Wallace opens the door to the right. And you see Scott there, and Knives is like, is Scott here? No. And then Scott runs off the right side of the screen. And then, so your eye gets drawn to the right with Scott, because he ran off the right side of the screen.
Yeah.
And Scott just comes flying straight through the wind, like behind Wallace, and through the window. I did a watch party with that one time, and we lost it.
Yeah.
We had to stop the movie, because we kept laughing at that one scene.
No, that is definitely one of the best.
It's such a good, because like camera moves to the left, Scott runs to the right and then comes flying back towards the left. And it's such a good scene. The plot itself is like it's nonsensical but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's like, oh, to date this girl, you gotta date, or you gotta defeat her 7 evil exes.
Yeah.
It's such a good thing, and I've talked about it before, but on the music podcast we did, but the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, just got re-released after being in limbo for years, and it's on PC and Switch and stuff. And if people haven't played that game, you should, because it's just a beat 'em up side scroller, but with it's Scott Pilgrim. You go through Scott Pilgrim.
It's like, to be a comedy too, that movie just has so many amazing like boss fights, and I'd love to see how they put that into the game.
I
That's like
think
what I'd be most excited for.
I think even the movie did that, like in a weird way, because it treats it all like a video game,
Yeah.
where it's like it is 7 bosses technically, and like you got you got, and also I forget some of the cast that this movie had.
Yeah.
It's like Chris Evans is one of the exes, and then Brie Larson is Scott's ex.
And then dang it, Brandon Ruth is one of the exes too, and he's the one with Brie Larson. So we got two major superhero actors.
You got 3
I mean, okay, now I was just thinking about in that one
in
scene
that one scene too,
with
but
the van,
3
but
in the movie. It is Michael Cera as it was pretty solid as Scott. I gotta say, Scott's a dick. Like he as a
yeah,
character, you're not supposed to like Scott. I think.
yeah, he's a strange protagonist.
He's just another. He's not the character you root for in this scenario.
Yeah,
But at the same time, this whole sequence of events is like it's strangely real for how crazy it is. Like
Yeah.
it's like you took something that like very easily it's like you could see a group of like people that all know each other in like weird ways, and like their relationships in there was like one person dated this other person, now that's awkward, and then
yeah,
now this person is dating that person, or like and and then you just take it to an extreme.
yeah,
It's like let's take this to the insanity level.
yeah,
The colors I remember a lot from this movie. It's like all these bright neon lights, and strangely enough the fight's pretty solid.
yeah,
And the the one thing, the little tidbit I want to throw out is that all the actors in this movie actually played their instruments in the movie,
yeah,
which I think like because they had to learn, they had to do it, and I think it provides a certain feel to the movie where it's like a strange relatability. It's like, yeah, you don't sound like you're not going to be selling any stadiums here, but you do sound like the kind of band
yeah.
that I would go to a buddy's house and they would be playing.
That's some of the funniest thing about this movie is that like Sex Bombs are no way like the best band around.
No.
But it's sort of funny because same thing with Michael Cera as Scott. It's just like he's not the best guitar player and he should not be the best fighter or like the protagonist at all because he's kind of a jerk, but you find yourself rooting for not even him, more like I guess that's why this is a stark debate between Ramona Flowers and Knives Chow is because like you find yourself rooting for them more than you find yourself rooting for Scott.
I feel real bad for Knives for most of this movie.
Oh, I do too. She gets the worst of it.
Knives is also better in the comic a little bit.
I could see that.
Ramona though, it's like somehow even though Scott's a terrible person and like all this, it's like not even a terrible person. He's just a douche. Like he's the perfect level of douche that like you would still hang around with him, but like you still have that dynamic. Like he would still be a part of the group, but he would be the part of the group that would get the phone call to join in last.
Yeah, he gets like because there's always that one guy in the group that like everyone roasts, and that would definitely be Scott in any friend group.
It's the I'm trying to think when this movie came. It was like 2010, wasn't it? It was a decent time.
Yeah.
And for preparation for this, I went back and rewatched a little bit of it. And I was laughing. It's definitely probably one of my favorite comedies. All right, we've gone on. You're number
7.
You're number 7 now.
All right, so
I'm looking at my list and I'm gonna ramble even longer.
it's another Marvel movie.
Okay.
It's Avengers: Infinity War, and not Endgame. Even though I loved the final scene of Endgame, I just loved the entirety of Infinity War more than I loved.
Okay.
Because Endgame was a good movie, but I just really enjoyed watching every single part of Infinity War because everyone coming together and the dusting scene is just like it's such a good cliffhanger that I couldn't it couldn't rival Endgame for me.
The Infinity War and Endgame were the two greatest movie experiences of my life because it was a room. We would buy tickets the second they went on sale, and all my friends, we filled up an entire row of seats at our local movie theater, And man, do I miss movie theaters so much. But and it was an experience from and I feel like the experience just never stopped from when Infinity War came out and Endgame ended.
Yeah.
I feel like we were all still in that theater together
Yeah.
because we were just so excited, and it was such a good community moment. The
Yeah.
second uh Infinity War when Infinity War came out, I remember that when Thor comes down, it's like, bring me Thanos. The theater fucking exploded.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about even exploding even more, Endgame, spoiler, when Cap A lifts Mjolnir and then B says Avengers Assemble,
Yeah.
the theater lost its shit.
Same way I cried when Spider-Man dusted away in Infinity War.
Everyone cried at the end of Infinity
Whenever
War.
Spider-Man comes back through the portal, like that was the scene for me that probably got me the most.
You want to talk about good sound design? Endgame has a moment when Cap says Avengers Assemble. They have, of course, Thor go, "Rah!" And like everyone starts battle crying going into the battle. It's timed so perfectly because you know the entire theater was gonna explode the same point that the characters on screen did.
Yeah.
So it's like Avengers Assemble, and then both on screen and in the theater, people
That's
went,
just good planning.
"Ah!"
That's just good. But the only reason, like I said, the only reason Infinity War beat out Endgame was because each scene where they introduce a new character, in Infinity War, it always just hits. Like where Cap and Black Widow come to save Vision and Wanda. Like that scene, amazing. Where Rubber Band Man plays while the Guardians are being introduced, amazing. Like just every single introduction, every single new part of that movie just brought something completely exciting and amazing.
I was amongst the first group on my theater to go see Endgame. It was the first showing on like a Thursday night. It was like the pre-showings.
Yeah.
And we waited for hours. We waited for 3 hours and then like 6 for Endgame.
God.
It was a long, but we were all good. We were so excited.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, we walked into that theater super excited for Infinity War, and we walked out and saw the line of people that were coming to the next showing,
Yeah.
and we were just in tears. We were everyone
no.
in that theater, all the people that were excited for the movie looked at us like, what is happening?
Exactly. Because they didn't know.
They didn't know
what could happen.
what was about to happen.
And of course, like, we're not going to spoil it, but like it was the end of an era. So sad.
I feel like that movie's okay to spoil, but it doesn't matter.
I feel like it is too, but I don't know. I just like to be careful.
Oh, you mean at the end of Endgame? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I mean at the end of Endgame.
It was
all the things.
It's all good. It's all good, and It was such a dramatic. It was such a good point in history for cinema.
Yeah.
The fact that you were able to build up 22 movies that people watched.
Yeah.
People that were watching the Marvel movies kept watching the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
They kept up. You introduced a whole new fandom to people. The superheroes and comics no longer were this side thing that nerds were into and like people were into. It became mainstream.
Yeah. And no matter how much I love DC, like I have to give Marvel credit for bringing superheroes to the forefront.
Yeah.
I mean, the CW shows did a lot for that too, but honestly, the MCU was
the
thing.
Yeah, it's the thing, and it would not. It's crazy. It's such a good thing. All right, what are we? Am I 7 now?
Yeah.
Okay. My number 7 is a martial arts film that I've talked about before. I've talked about with you before, but it is my feel-good movie. It is the movie I watch when I am depressed, when I'm sad, and I just want to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon.
Okay, that's what I thought you were going to say.
This was another monumental moment for cinema. And you can tell by how I talk, but I just love movies.
Yeah.
I love what they stand for. I love what they do to you. I love everything about movies. Enter the Dragon is one of the things that like I watch and it will make my day. Like I know it's not technically the best movie, but like you gotta think about this movie was the first co-production between Hong Kong and Hollywood.
Yeah.
It was the first time those two, and they talked about him back behind the scenes and stuff for that movie. It's like there was language barriers because this was like the 70s or 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and Bruce Lee, like, he had his hits and stuff. He had Game of Death, I think, before this, and Fist of Fury, which are both great movies. Enter the Dragon is what made him blew up internationally.
Yeah.
He was everywhere, and Bruce Lee, he not demanded, but he was very adamant with when writing that script to have it reflect martial arts in to have it reflect martial arts and the represent it in a good way.
Yeah.
In the light, not that stereotypes and everything, or and he was even adamant with, like, there in the original script there were these archetypes for Chinese people, like these stereotypes, and he was like, no, he was like, that's not what this is.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna do these martial art tropes. We're gonna show the mind behind it. And Bruce Lee was the pinnacle of fitness.
Yeah.
You look at that man in anything, and he is, it's especially apparent in Enter the Dragon, but he is remarkably fit.
Yeah.
He is a gold standard for exercise for people, and like martial arts people, MMA fighters, like, they all look at this dude as like insane, and like his passing was it's you look at like what happened, and you go into like it's like the mess and stuff. It's like they murdered this guy.
Yeah.
Not like intentionally, but like
Just
this guy
pushed
was
him to the
killed.
end. Yeah.
Like, this isn't the type of guy that, it was way too young, and it was too. And watching that movie, it's like the plot. Here's the thing: it's like the plot is essentially what Mortal Kombat would be. It's like you go to an island, there's a tournament, fight some people. There's a bunch of other stuff, but like it establishes characters well. It shows you their desires, their needs, their wants, and how they're going to achieve that.
Yeah.
Within a few minutes of the movie, you get what Bruce Lee's character, who I think is actually just called Lee, I'm not sure about that.
Mm-hmm.
You get what what he want, or what you think is his ambition, which is to go and to win this thing, and then you realize it's like, oh, the guy who's responsible for his sister's death is also at this place.
Yeah.
And also this place, this island, is like real sketchy and is doing something, but we need you to go and figure this out.
Yeah.
So you get these layers to the characters, and like even the other characters, it's like, are you here for the money, or are you here for some kind of honor or something? Everything about that movie, I watch and I'm just like, I am into this.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna stop there for that.
I got you.
Your number 7?
Number 7 is wait, we had number 7 or number 6?
Number 6 for you, number 7 for me.
Okay. So my number
I'm gonna move this just a little bit closer.
My number 6 is actually another horror movie. And of course I like this one in concept, but this one actually,
I'm glad you had some horrors, because I didn't have any horror on mine.
honestly, like, I didn't get any of the horror classics on mine. I got the ones that I really, really believed, like, got to the heart of, like, fear. You know, it's kind of a weird thing to say about a horror movie, but, you know, I just really believe that these movies touched bases on all, like, the worst fears that I and most people have. So this movie, it was a Netflix original, I'm pretty sure. It's called As Above, So Below.
Okay. I've heard of this. I've never seen it.
Okay, it takes the fear, it takes like all these different like monumental fears, like the dark, claustrophobia, fear of your past, fear of death and hell, and, you know, of all this stuff, and it stuffs it all into one movie. It's also an adventure-based movie, which is also kind of cool. But it's just got these amazing scenes, and each character has their own different way of dying. It's not like a horror movie monster. It's just like if your nightmares were in a place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it was just such a good movie, and it really did scare me. And then of course the ending kind of ruined it, because as a horror movie, it's amazing, but
I have that same feeling about Cabin in the Woods,
Yeah.
where I'm like, I'm completely on board for this movie until the ending. And Cabin in the Woods, I'm on board until the third act,
Yeah.
and then it gets me back at the very, very ending.
Like it's the only thing about that is like I think the story keeps flowing. It doesn't stop and doesn't
Mhm.
have like a weird twist. It's just the fact that when you use like believe in yourself as the Deus Ex Machina of your movie,
Yeah,
like that's when I'm kind of like, oh.
that's when you tap out.
But yeah, I mean, I wasn't necessarily unhappy with the way it ended. It was just kind of kitschy to me. But I still loved like the concept of the movie in general and the scenes and the different ways the characters died, or it was just really good. Or came to grips with their trauma too. It wasn't just people being taken over by their fears. It was um a few of the characters at least got past their issues. So I would definitely suggest that one.
I gotta check that out. I can't add much to this, but like from how you're describing it, I'm interested. The deep looking into like a person's fears
Yeah.
really interests me.
Because it takes place in the catacombs in Paris, and
I have
that-
heard, I think I've heard really. I
Yeah.
think I might seen the trailer for this. I think.
but that's just an amazing setting for a horror movie to me too.
Speaking of like dealing with fears, my number 6.
Yeah.
This is gonna be weird based on how that phrase that. My number 6 is My Neighbor Totoro.
Okay.
I say that dealing with fears because this movie it depicts death, which is something I think a lot of people have feared, or even if you say you don't, you've at least thought about it. Like
Yeah.
you've thought about your demise. You've questioned what you think and what happens after death and all that. But My Neighbor Totoro, on top of being a gorgeously animated movie, and like of course I love animation, I love that kind of stuff. My Neighbor Totoro deals with some really heavy shit.
Yeah.
You have these two girls whose mother is ill and she might die. The fact of the matter is she might die. But the movie's not about it's like whether she'll die or not. It's about even if she does die, what's important is that you still loved her and that there was still the death isn't the end of something. But it still is. Death is what gives life value. Without death, what would the point of life be?
Yeah.
And My Neighbor Totoro, I can't. Every single time I watch that movie, I am in tears by the time she lays that husk of corn on her mother's bed.
Yeah.
I am in tears. And here's the thing, it ends very happily. It ends very nice, but the message is so strong and it hits you like a truck. And on top of that, you got this character who is one of the coolest looking like creatures that you could make in a movie.
Yeah.
Like Totoro is everywhere. He's the icon for Ghibli at this point. And Totoro's not even their biggest thing. It's not Spirited Away. It's Totoro was like he's the icon of Ghibli at this point.
It's just like that iconic cover with them standing at the bus stop.
At the bus stop.
It's just like it's just so like recognizable. Even if you haven't seen the movie or
You
like
know it.
heard of Studio Ghibli, if you saw that picture, you would know what it is. Even if you don't know the name, like
Yeah.
you would
You've
you
seen
recognize
it before.
Yeah.
It's like
That's one thing that I like a lot about that.
when you have me buying the plushies, because I'm like,
Yeah.
I want this on my desk, or I want this like I just want something to remind me of this movie constantly.
Yeah. Like
Same-
taking something from foreign culture and making it that popular in America can be really hard. So seeing how well they did that, like
Well, same thing with Enter the Dragon was like this was a huge phenomenon everywhere.
Yeah.
This became the start of a huge thing, and anime specifically has grown so much in the recent years, and like
yeah.
thanks to like Toonami and all this other stuff. But in streaming, it's like it's become readily available. But like, see, this movie in particular, I think is like one of the gold standards for me of like how to feel for a character and how to relate to one. Because
Yeah.
like we've all had family that's died, or we've all had we've all had some. We all remember like our first experience with observing death in some site, whether it was a pet or a family member. This movie wants to take your fear of, if you fear death, or if you think, if you are sad, it teaches things. It's like it's okay to be sad, but it's also something that can make you happy.
Yeah.
And that's why I love this movie so much. And here's the thing: it's like Totoro's not even like, he's not in half the movie.
Yeah.
You know, it's about these girls, but like it's about their mother and their father and the two of them. And it is by far my favorite Ghibli movie.
Yeah.
And I know I haven't put a ton of animated stuff on the list, but I really have to emphasize how much I think animation is one of the greatest art forms that has ever existed.
Yeah.
I think you can do so much with these characters and only in that setting. All right.
Okay.
We're on to your...
Is this my number 5?
This is your number 5, because that was my number 6.
Okay, so this is actually Scott Pilgrim.
This was Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah. So we don't have to talk about it again.
We don't have to talk more about Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah. So
I know I'm sorry if I ramble way more than you do about this.
No, I mean if you have something to say, like if I really need to say something, I'll butt in. But
this
you have
is
some
how
really
passionate I am about movies. Is
yeah.
the thing, and what they mean to us, and what they mean to everyone, and like this is why I miss movie theaters, is because of like how important I think this art form is of cinema.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to number 5.
Yeah.
Okay. My number 5, on a lighter note, 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh my gosh.
This movie. This is what you were talking about, the Cinderella thing, this nostalgia of it. That's what this movie is for me.
Yeah.
Because this movie has some of the greatest puppetry I've ever seen, because it was the Henson Company doing all of these.
Yeah.
This movie was the highest grossing independent movie until Blair Witch came out.
Dang.
Because no one wanted to take this movie. They saw it as too great a risk, and they thought it was stupid. It's like, and here's the thing: if you take the turtles, break them down, it's like, break them down to the 4 words: the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
It's like you chose those words in that order and somehow have made a franchise out of it.
It's a simple concept, but it works.
But what it is another look at characters. Like, you have defined characters, all of which I like. You put them in a room together, and they've made a scenario that's cool.
Yeah.
And it basically just adapts the first comic arc, which is a good comic. if you haven't read it, it's but they adapt most of it. They tweak a few things here and there, but mostly because it needed it.
Yeah.
And when it comes to being a fan of the Ninja Turtles, that movie is the gold standard for me and a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Because this movie is also what really defined their roles. Because here's the thing, in the comic, they're pretty... It doesn't help that they all wear a red mask in the comic, but it's also hard to differentiate which one is which personality-wise.
Yeah.
So that's what they did when the cartoon came along. They made Mikey much more stoned.
Party
dude. They made Leo this very, very Bruce Lee type character.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Leo's always been my favorite.
Leo's, I think, might be my favorite too.
Just because it's like the same reason I like Robin from Teen Titans. That's basically it. Like, he's the serious, cool leader that, you know, you would hang out with, but you'd also let lead a team of freaking professional heroes.
You've got Splinter, who's like the classic master, the Miyagi of the room, the teacher.
Yeah.
You have Donatello, who's like coming up with these all crazy ideas and cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have Raphael, who I think the movie focuses on the most. Because up to this point, in the TV show, in the cartoon, Raph wasn't the angry one. He was always more sarcastic, and he was a lot more like my brand of humor. I'm like the old line. It's like, we got a real mind here.
Yeah,
that was his thing. It's like him and Michelangelo were the most similar because they were both kind of jokesters, but different brands of comedy.
Yeah.
When the movie came along, they really established what Raph would become, which is he was he he's not just the angry one. He's the one that feels the most outside from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I know this is way too deep for fucking Ninja Turtles, but
No,
it's
but I
what
mean,
they are.
it works.
Raph is the character who is the most alienated out of all the turtles. He's
Yeah.
the one. He's the teenage angst because the turtles can't go and be normal teenagers. They've been born into this life of living underground in the shadows. Splinter talks about in the beginning of the movie. It's like your domain is the shadow. When you stray from it, strike quickly and retreat.
Yeah.
So much about this movie looks good. The Splinter looks so good. The puppetry is fine. There's some moments you can tell they're puppets, but the thing is, they're so good. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care because if you put those things, if you put those things, if I was in this scenario, watching or even just watching this movie, I believe they're real.
Yeah.
I believe this is how April would react. This is how Casey is reacting.
Yeah.
It's easier for these people to act off of too because of they're there. They're there. They're really there. And there's like cut scenes. This movie also does like it does a few martial artsy type tropes, especially when like the turtles are on the farm and stuff, and Splinter is like doing some Force Ghost shit. But
Yeah.
but they do where they strive the most is with Shredder. Yeah. Shredder in that movie is the most shinobi. He's the most ninja. He's the most. What I would if you talked about a clan like the Foot and equated them to real life, that movie is the most accurate to like actual history and how they would treat things.
Yeah.
Shredder in that movie is not just like trying to kill the turtles, and he's not trying to take over the world and stuff, and there's no Krang or anything. It's just like he is looking after the Foot.
Yeah.
It is his clan. He is making sure that they will survive.
Yeah.
And plus one of the coolest hidden hideouts in a movie ever.
Yeah.
With the skating rink and the arcade games, it's like, man, they made this. As a kid, I'm like, I want to join the Foot. They look pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's where I can stop for Turtles. That's my fifth tangent of the day.
Yeah. So we're on number 4, and this is one that we can both talk about because you skipped it earlier. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Volume 2.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is by far my favorite Marvel movie, right behind Endgame and Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think the reason I connect to it more than Guardians 1 is because this movie has a very father-son dynamic. Mm-hmm. I think that's something I can relate to. Yeah, even just being somebody's son and being that it on the base level, you can watch this and like it takes a lot of from the first movie and ups it to 11. It's what a good sequel should do is build upon the first.
Yeah.
And I will also say, as good as an experience in the theater that Endgame and Infinity War was, I had a completely different experience in the theater with this movie because I saw it on one of its last days in the theater, and there was no one else in the theater but me when I went to see it. Like everyone else had seen it. Yeah. Like that was the thing. And so when I saw it, I was completely alone. I was allowed to laugh as loud as I want to. I danced a little bit.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was a good experience all around.
That movie just it really, because that's another movie. I found some of these movies just by thinking what movies have elicited the most extreme emotional reaction for me. Mm-hmm. And I cry during that movie. Mostly just during, and I also love that monologue that the Ego gives Peter at the end. Yeah. When he's telling him like, you cannot deny that. I actually have the whole note in my notes so I can memorize it. But yep. I just love it. And then he's like, you shouldn't have killed my mom and squished my Walkman. And they get in a fight, and I love that scene so freaking much.
The humor's good when he's like, the callback of when he's like, yeah. Here's the thing, Peter Quill is such like a relatable character to be like, because if you were like, yeah, you have the power now to just create whatever you want on this planet. I'm like, and he immediately is like, get ready for some weird shit. It's like
50-foot statue of Pac-Man
and
He-Man
they call
or
that back.
Skeletor. Yes.
They call that back in the fight, and Pac-Man comes in.
It's like the giant ego is just wagga, 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 wagga. No, but it's odd. Like the music in that movie is. We could ramble about that forever too.
Oh my gosh, the soundtracks to both Guardians movies.
Like I think those definitely are the best Marvel movies for music. But I mean, just thinking about different scenes where they use the music to paint. So most prominent ones to me, Southern Nights being used with Rocket attacking the oh crap, why did I forget their names?
The Ravagers.
Yeah, where Rocket attacks the Ravagers, the Southern Knights, where Peter and Ego fight to the chain, and where the Sovereign rain down on the planet while Wham Bam Shangalang plays. Those are my three favorite scenes because the music is used so well.
Well, we neglected Mr. Blue Sky. That
the very beginning,
That's such a good tone. You set the tone for the movie immediately with that scene.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh yeah, you see that giant monster fight in the background? Yeah, we're going to focus on the little dude dancing in front.
It's just like great how they use
the monster
like,
fight's like out of focus.
Like the camera just like floats around and follows Groot everywhere. Stuff's happening in the background. That's
the point in the movie theater where I'm
intros,
alone and I'm just like, might as well dance.
Just like if Groot's gonna dance, you gotta get in there with him.
I own a Star-Lord jacket because of those movies.
I think it's cool that me and you both have famous red leather jackets. From our because you're more of a Marvel guy, I'm more of a DC guy.
Yeah.
So I have the Smallville Superman jacket,
and I've got the Star-Lord leather jacket.
I'm getting that thing fixed up, and me and you got to do like a photo shoot or something with our red jacket.
Dude, I want to do a full Star-Lord at some point.
That would be so freaking cool.
I think I'm gonna. The cool thing about Star-Lord's helmet is like the hair kind of tufts out of the top, and when it comes to me, I can just like put it through all the way. It's just gonna look hilarious. All right, 4.
Oh yeah.
Or no, that was your 4. This is my 4.
Yeah, this is your 4.
Okay. What I consider to be the closest thing humanly possible to a perfect movie. Ghostbusters.
I should have expected this one.
Ghostbusters was here's the thing, me and you have talked about this movie. Is it on? It's not on your list, is it?
No, it's not.
We've talked about this movie. I think we both saw this movie a little too young.
Yeah, because looking back at that library scene.
Looking at that movie now, where you're like, oh, Dan Aykroyd is that's a ghost going down. Okay, nope.
Okay, I understood that when
I didn't.
When I
was too young for that. I had no idea.
Or maybe I didn't. Maybe not the first time I watched it, but I definitely remember remembering when I was young.
Me and you both related on the fact. I remember having this conversation. We both related on the fact that the library scene scared the shit out of me to this day. Sometimes, even though I know it's happened.
But it's just like for some reason when I was younger, I remember her face being so much scarier when she yells.
Yeah, because maybe we weren't expecting it. I will say maybe that scene's not scary. You know what scene is perfectly scary? The refrigerator scene.
Yes.
Where Sigourney Weaver is getting pulled into the thing.
Yeah.
She sells it, one, and she's great and everything, but like,
yeah,
she sells it so well.
She's flipping out.
So great
because it starts with the eggs popping and stuff like that.
The eggs pop. It's such a good build up because like the eggs pop and they start grilling on the counter.
Yeah.
And then like it just keeps going in, and then all of a sudden she sits down. And then these hands just explode from the chair and start grabbing at her.
Yeah.
It is such a good movie because as like cool as that stuff is, it's not a horror movie. Yeah. It's a comedy. The movie is hilarious. As an adult watching it now, I get the humor of it now. I'm like, why did my parents let me watch this movie? They're smoking, they're drinking,
that's what I'm saying. They were like, our parents were basically like, it's such a classic that we might as well show it to you now because you're definitely gonna see it one day.
Because I'm glad I saw it because I've seen that movie so many times now, and it's every time I watch it, it just gets better.
Yeah,
and it's like Bill Murray apparently did a ton of improv on this, and some of the best lines from the movie are improvised. We saw it, we kicked its ass.
Yes.
what else was it? He slimed me. Um, when Dan Aykroyd
Magman.
when talked is like, yeah, we were stopped by Dickless over here, and the mayor's like, yeah, that's true. Is that true? And then Bill Murray's like, yes, this man has no dick. uh, those are all some of the best lines in that movie. And like, you look at like their history. There's a Netflix series called The Movies That Made Us, where they talk about all of these movies, where they talk about like Home Alone, Die Hard, and Ghostbusters was one of them. The original script for Ghostbusters was nothing but like what it is now. It was nothing. Oh. It was originally also supposed to be Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, and Eddie Murphy.
Oh.
But of course, John Belushi, rest in peace. Eddie Murphy, I think he was doing something else or had become like way bigger by that point.
Yeah.
And so Harold Ramis and Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. Well, Dan Aykroyd had written the original script.
And then
who plays Winston? What's his name?
I know, I forget his name. See, that's the thing. I don't know, like, of course I know Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd off the top of my head because they're both huge outside of that, but I don't actually know Harold Ramis or...
I'm looking it up. Hold up.
As I say, once you tell it to me, I'll feel stupid for not knowing, but I just...
And this movie was such lightning in a bottle. Because, like...
And I was surprised to watch, like, because I watched the cartoon
Ernie
when I
Hudson,
was
that's
young.
his name.
Yes.
Jeez, why could I not remember that?
But when I saw the cartoon when I was like a kid, I was so surprised to see that it was so different.
That cartoon is awesome, though. That cartoon is so creative.
Yeah.
And Ghostbusters was such a lightning in a bottle moment that can't be recreated. I know, like, people talk crap on the female Ghostbusters thing. Like, I don't care about the fact, all the drama behind that movie. It was just the fact that, like, you took the original cast and you couldn't make a sequel to this movie. They did it. It was called Ghostbusters 2, and you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it.
I did like some elements of Ghostbusters 2. I want to say that.
There's some fine moments in Ghostbusters 2, but it's definitely, like, toned down. Because it was such a success that it was like, well, now we have to, like, you can't be, like, smoking and swearing. It's, like, all the parts of this movie, like I've said with all these other movies, that made it feel real.
Yeah.
That made it feel like I could step into this movie and be a part of these characters. And you look into the effects that they were doing with this movie, where they were under time, over budget, and they were doing things that people hadn't done before.
Yeah.
It's such a good movie. It's such a good movie. I will recommend it. And I don't know how Afterlife is going to be. We'll see. I think that's supposed to come out sometime this year.
I really hope they did a good job on that, because we can't have another
bad
Ghostbusters property that people trash.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The cartoon is good enough. It's good, but it's because, like, you can do short form television, and, like, sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses.
Yeah.
But if it's like firing buckshot as opposed to firing a sniper. It's like,
yeah,
eventually you're gonna hit something. But
like the Men in Black cartoon was
Men in Black was solid, but, like, Men in Black 2 is okay, I guess. Men in Black 3 is good.
And have you seen the newer one with?
Oh no, I haven't. Oh no, I have, but I saw like half of it, and I've completely forgot every part of it.
Oh my god!
It was like on TV at some point.
I've seen it, and I didn't think it was bad, but now that you said that, yeah, I can't remember exactly. I can't remember
one thing that happened in what I saw of that movie.
There was some.
I remember
sort
them
of
being in a desert or something.
Corruption in the
Men in Black.
In the Men in Black.
I don't remember any of this, but we're off Ghostbusters. Yeah. You're number 2 now.
Oh, number 3.
Number 3.
So number 3 is fairly new movie. And I don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, I'd highly suggest it. It's Code 8. You see Code 8?
No, I haven't. I don't know if I've.
It was Stephen Amell and Robbie Amell.
I should have known.
And but the funny thing was, it was a superpower movie, but it wasn't a superhero movie.
Uh-huh.
It was actually technically a heist movie.
Cool.
But they just do the superpower genre in a way that it hasn't really been done, in a way that I've always thought was interesting, which is, what if superpowers were a part of our society? Like, what if regular people just were randomly born with them? and they use them for jobs and stuff like that. And eventually you get to a point where, and this is the part of the movie that I think is kind of a stretch, but they get to a point where they're basically saying, like, the people with the powers are the ones that are being, like, oppressed and pushed against. And I'm like, how do the powerful people
This is
get
Incredibles,
bullied?
is what you're describing. Is
Yeah.
Incredibles.
Except for, like, they're not superheroes, they're just not allowed to use their powers for, like, everyday stuff, like for jobs and stuff like that.
Okay.
Which is, they literally used them to build a city, and then they said, okay, powers are outlawed now. And now they have, like, these, it's basically the powered people versus these, like, police robots they have that are, like,
This sounds
OP.
a lot like Hancock, honestly.
It was, like, it did the same thing as Hancock with, like, changing the powered genre. But
Take the genre, flip it on its head.
But Code 8 left themselves open for a sequel too. And I think they're in a really good place to do that. And I'd love to see what they do if they did. So I like it a lot. I'd suggest it.
I gotta
it's on
watch
Netflix
it.
still,
I should have known there would have been something with Stephen Amell on your thing.
because he doesn't make a lot of movies. He's made a few, obviously, TMNT and stuff like that. But
Listen, he's a fine actor. And this is not his fault. It was just a miscasting and not a good writing for Casey Jones.
I just think
Why?
Michael Bay is not a good.
Why? I think he just produced it. I don't think he directed it.
Oh, I thought
Why is Casey Jones a cop? That is the opposite of the character.
Yeah. But
That's a rant for another day.
But I do, as much as that movie is, I love Steven, and I love the fact that they gathered the funding for this movie and did it all, like, independently, basically. So it took a while, and I was seeing this, like, advertisements for the project for a long time, but it was really, really good. So I definitely suggest it. All right, number 3.
3?
Is it one that I can guess that on your list?
Probably. Well, I'll give you a hint. It's the best damn musical of all time.
Oh, wait.
I will die on this hill.
Wait.
I will die on this hill that this is the greatest musical of all time.
Wait, I don't know if I know what it is. I want to guess, but I don't want
Good. Shoot a guess.
It's not the greatest.
No.
No, it's I don't know it then. I don't.
Baby Driver.
Oh my god. I don't think of that as a musical, but
I will die on a hill that this movie is a musical.
Now that I know what you're talking about, I completely agree. But I didn't think of it as a musical. I was thinking, like,
same
Mamma
way
Mia.
that Die Hard is the greatest Christmas movie, Baby Driver is the greatest musical of all time. This movie, another Edgar Wright, he was the repeat director. I have the next two are also a repeat director. But
I know your next two.
Yeah, you know my next two. But this movie integrates music into its story perfectly and does it it does it in such good ways. So, like, not only did you create a reason for why the music is there in the first place. He has tinnitus, he puts it in, he zones out, he gets into his zone, which I think all of us can relate to, is like getting into music and getting into the zone.
Yeah.
But also it affects how Baby sees the world. So, like, when the music does, like, a yeah, there'll be writing or graffiti on the wall that says that, or, like, on a telephone pole or something.
Yeah.
And, like, the lyrics will be not blatantly like Scott Pilgrim, but they'll be hit, like, in the background.
Yeah.
So they're a part of this world. They're a part of his world. And when you go deeper into into like this movie, it's such a good heist movie. And here's the thing, you never see the heist.
Yeah.
You never see that scene of him walking into the bank with guns and blowing the cameras out and everyone's on the ground. Like, you don't see that stuff. You see what he sees, which is just like, he's just in his car jamming, waiting for them to come.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm just gonna wait here, just waiting for my boss to get here. And it's a good, well, I'll say a solid romance. I won't say good or bad. I feel like the girlfriend in it could have used a little bit more screen time. That's my only complaint.
Yeah.
But, like, the movie itself is such an testament to, like, how music should be used in a movie.
Yeah.
One of my biggest cinematic regrets is not seeing this movie in theaters. I don't know why I didn't. I remember it being in theaters, and I just didn't see it.
I was told to see it, and I didn't get to see it in theaters, but I was told how great it was, like from the very first person I knew that saw it.
I know. This is a movie I have bought the Blu-ray for, and I keep the digital copy on my phone so that I can watch it like around other
And
times.
some of my favorite scenes, even though it's a movie about a getaway driver, some of my favorite scenes from that movie are not like car chase scenes.
Yeah.
Where he's running through the mall.
To Hocus Pocus.
Like,
Dude. Dude, the greatest part, my favorite scene in this movie is the Hocus Pocus scene, but specifically for anyone who hasn't heard Hocus Pocus by Focus, it's a very weird song, but it's so good.
yeah,
It's so good. It might be one of my favorite songs. But there's a point in the song, there's a lot of yodeling, there's a lot of like weird drum beats and stuff, but there's a point in the song where there's a flute solo.
yeah,
There's a flute solo in the song, and they sync that solo to machine gun fire.
yes.
So anything in this movie, the editing it's Edgar Wright in Scott Pilgrim or in the Cornetto trilogy or whatever, and then you dial it to 11.
yeah,
You dial it to 11, and you have him make that he had to have had the most detailed storyboards I've ever seen for this movie. And
Jeez.
because so much of this movie is synced to the music.
Yeah.
When he's driving by, the lamppost on the side of the street will be synced. I guess they got to be CG, or maybe they did put them there.
Yeah.
They're synced to the beat of the music. When Baby is running, his feet are going at the same pace as the drum beat.
Yeah.
When anything in this movie, they even use like Tequila to the song Tequila to like lead into a shootout, and it's so cool. I remember every character in this movie. Like I remember every character. I remember Baby. I remember the people he was originally with, like John Berthal and like stuff at the beginning of the movie, like the first crew, the setup crew or whatever, and then the crew he's with the rest of the movie, like the couple, and like the kind of guy that was he was always the antagonist, I guess,
Yeah.
of the movie, and it's so good. The oh my gosh, I didn't even mention the deaf. I can't actually remember how they're connected. Foster dad or uncle or something? It's like it's something. I can't remember. I think it's some kind of foster situation. I can't remember.
I know what you're talking about, the one
But
where he's
the deaf guy that he takes care of. I can't actually remember how they're connected.
yeah.
But their interactions between each other are amazing.
Yeah.
It's like the fact that like he's able to like put his hand on the speaker to like listen to what music Babies listen to. It's like, all right, who's the girl? Like they sign to each other. They're talking. It's like,
yeah.
it's just a great movie. It is one of the movies I will recommend to any person on the planet.
Yeah.
Will love this movie.
All right. Is this our number twos?
Your number 2.
All right. This is I wonder if you can guess this one, because I know you've seen this one. It was Nickelodeon production.
Okay.
Had Jack Black in it.
School of Rock.
Nope.
No.
That's
School of Rock, I think, should have been an honorable mention for me.
it. Nah, for me, this one definitely deserved to be like this one, because this is a nostalgia one for me
Nacho
too.
Libre.
Yeah.
Nacho Libre.
I used to watch this with my brothers. It was just, it just has so many moments to just look back on and just like laugh my ass off. I just love like every scene in that movie is just something either really awkward or really like, it's just, I don't know. It's just so goofy and hilarious. Like Jack Black obviously is known for most of his comedy roles, but he can do a really serious character.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not like, I don't think there's a single serious moment in
In
this
the
movie where like you can actually feel serious.
Jack Black is one of the like greatest just people on the planet.
Yeah.
He's one of the actors that you could put him in any movie and it would be better.
Now, I will say it did make me sort of upset because I like Chris Pratt so much that people were going back and saying that
that's a can of worms I don't
it
care
was just,
about.
I don't know. It was just pointless to call it Chris Pratt like that.
It's fine.
Because Jack Black is great, but he couldn't do any of Chris Pratt's roles better than Chris Pratt.
That's a can of worms I don't even want to address.
It was
Jack
just
Black's
a
a great
ridiculous
actor.
internet
Chris
thing.
Pratt, you're
Yeah.
doing great. We already talked about Guardians and stuff. It's like,
But I mean, just speaking on Jack Black though, I mean, like he dives into every single one of his roles, and you can see that in Nacho Libre. Like
somehow his
100%.
energy translate even into like his audio or his voice performances, like Kung Fu Panda. I'm like, no, that's Jack Black.
Yeah,
It's like he's one of those people that like he's acting as not as himself, but as he has his own special brand, and I don't care because it's such a good thing to watch.
It's like maybe the reason you don't like Jim Carrey is the reason.
Yeah,
like, you do like
that's
Jack
exactly
Black.
it. The same reasons I don't like Jim Carrey are the reasons I like Jack Black. It's because it's just like, and here's the thing, I don't hate Jim Carrey, I just don't particularly like his stuff.
I think that most of the movies I've seen by Jim Carrey I like, but I mean, The Yes Man wasn't even that much of a comedy movie, but it was a really, really good movie. I think if you haven't seen that one, that would be a good one for you to watch for sort of a redemption for Jim Carrey. But
Jack Black,
but not Nacho Libre, not
If I had to rank Jack Black though, I would definitely put School of Rock up there though.
Yeah,
because I really like that, and the musical is great too.
What else do I like from Jack Black?
Tenacious D, Kung Fu Panda. What else was he in? He's done a lot of voiceover stuff that I just forget that he's done.
Yeah,
because like he has got such a recognizable voice, but like when you put him in a thing, you're like, when you put him in a
he just fits so well.
When you put him in a voice performance, he does. He just gives it his all, and you buy that he's becoming the character. He was in the King Kong remake in 2005.
I was actually going to ask you about that the other day when we were doing our other podcast.
Yeah.
Because I thought that he was in that, but I was also thinking maybe I was mixing it up with Jumanji, which is another movie that I thought was amazing.
No, he's in King Kong. That movie is actually not that. It's actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it probably in 10 years, so I don't know. There's one scene in it that I remember being super terrifying.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Was it the scene on the island?
Yeah. It's the scene with like the tribe of the area, and I don't know if that's aged well.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't know if that's aged well. I would have to rewatch it. But
I mean, like Nacho Libre, like that movie is just, it was just like perfect. It was what made me love Jack Black. Like, get that cone out of my face. I could literally, instead of reviewing it, I could just go through and just say all my favorite lines from that movie, which I'm not gonna do because that would take forever because they're all freaking hilarious.
There's movies that even like, I know I wasn't gonna be like, I might not be super into, but I'll watch anyway because it's Jack Black, like that Goosebumps movie, and I was like, you know what, he made this movie pretty decent.
I also like have a lot of nostalgia about Goosebumps, like reading that when I was in,
that's why I watched it. I was like, nostalgia, Jack Black, I'm good with this.
It was pretty, like, I don't remember it being amazing, but it was pretty good. I mean, all right, now we're moving on to your number 2.
My number 2. If you had to guess my number 2, and remember, my number 2 and my number 1 have the same director.
I'm gonna guess the director first. It's Quentin Tarantino.
It is Quentin Tarantino.
Now,
because I'm a basic bitch.
I basically know what.
You know what number 1 is. You definitely know what number 1 is, and I don't want to say it just yet.
I feel like. Okay,
if you go through his catalog, turn your head a bit.
I'm trying to think because I'm pretty sure I'm pretty positive on what number 1 is.
Yeah.
I don't know what number 2 would be unless is it Kill Bill?
It's not Kill Bill. Kill Bill.
And it's not Django.
It's not Django either. Although, good guesses because I love all of his movies. It's not Kill Bill. It's not Django.
I mean, like I said, I basically know what 1 is.
You know what 1 is. I know you know what 1 is. Do you need a list of Tarantino movies?
Yeah, now that I'm trying to think of it, I'm freaking blanking.
All right, Quentin Tarantino. I could probably just name all these, but...
Oh, no, I know. Okay, never mind. I know what number 2 is.
You sure you do?
It's Reservoir Dogs.
It's Reservoir Dogs.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Reservoir Dogs. This is my moment to go on about this movie.
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs is is a clear image of what a director wanted. And Quentin Tarantino is known for just being like doing whatever he wants, and it shows. That's such a good thing when you have a good director. Is no interference from a studio or something. I don't care if it's a bad vision. If it's one person's vision or or a group of people's vision, it's gonna at least stand out.
Yeah.
So it's in this movie, it was made for I think like $1 million or like very low budget. This movie is is just the definition of creating good characters. Like it's hard for me to even like put into words everything about this movie that I like. If you start from the beginning of the movie, it's this opening scene with just these guys in suits talking about like a virgin.
Yeah.
You're like, now where is this going?
Mm-hmm.
Or even before that, I think before that you see him bleeding out in the backseat, and then it cuts to the diner. I can't remember exactly. It's been like 6 months since I've seen this movie. I saw it not too long ago because anytime I have a friend that hasn't seen this movie, I show it to him.
Yeah.
But you have these dialogue sequences with these characters that are just. I feel like me and you could have these conversations.
Yeah.
I feel like it feels so grounded in reality, but in a hypo reality. A reality that like where anything like the insane can happen, but at the same time will still feel like it could happen to you.
Yeah.
And we'll get even further into this with number one, but Reservoir Dogs has me on the tip of my seat the edge of my seat every time I watch it.
Yeah.
And I know what happens. I know like who it is. It's kind of like not a who done it, but like who's the rat? Who's the rat amongst us? And
yeah.
It throws you for loops. You don't know who it is. When you think you know, they tell you nope, you're wrong.
Yeah.
When you think a character's safe, no, they're not. They portray all the characters so differently. Mr. Blonde, I think that's the psychopath. Mr. Blonde is like actually terrifying at points.
Yeah.
When he starts dancing to Stuck in the Middle with You and starts torturing the guy,
Yeah.
it is uncomfortable. It's comfortable at best and terrifying at worst.
Yeah.
The actor for it even through his quotes, they were supposed to like throw him in the trunk to like get him ready for like the shot or whatever. They threw him in the trunk and then like went through a drive-through to like get a character.
Yeah.
Because he comes in the scene like with a milkshake. This movie just goes. You don't know what's gonna happen next. You don't know who you can trust. You don't know anything, but you want to know everything, and you will be answered. You'll be answered, but you'll be answered in a way that even if you think you know, you will be revealed into something crazy and insane. And the back and forth, the dialogue is perfect in this movie. Like, you can argue with Tarantino. It's like there's a lot of useless dialogue, but that useless dialogue is used to set up these characters.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Pink, Mr. Blue, Mr. Orange. I remember what they were about. I remember like how they were, and I remember Mr. Pink at the very beginning talking about not how he doesn't like to tip. And I'm just like, and guess what? I've showed that movie to friends and had that argument with them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that's what it feels like. It feels like these characters could be real.
Yeah.
And I think that's the greatest part of it.
The king of dialogue.
Yes, the epigraph battle. All right, you're number 2?
No, this is my number 1.
This is number 1. All right, so your pinnacle.
All right,
let me try to guess.
You know what this is 100%.
Do I?
Because I keep rambling about this movie like whenever I get a chance to talk about it. It's a very famous actor and like one of his least famous movies, even though I feel like it's one of his best.
I'm gonna need more. Let me think.
It's got I don't want to give it away, but I guess it's got one of the Jokers in it.
One of the Joker. Jack Nicholson?
Yeah.
Okay. What movies has Jack Nicholson been in? Shining.
But it's a
Batman.
comedy movie actually.
Comedy. What movie is this?
If you've never seen it, I have to bring the DVD and show it to you.
What is this movie?
It was the final. You remember Bear in the Big Blue House, right?
No.
You know, it was the giant puppet bear. It was a Disney
Yes,
show.
I do.
Okay, there was the voice actor who played the moon, Luna. On
Yeah,
that
I
show.
remember this. Yeah.
She died actually maybe not 3, but a few months after making this movie. This was her final movie.
Mhm.
So it's like this movie is very big for a couple reasons. I'm gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
It's anger management.
Oh yeah. I should. Yeah. Okay. I was very.
Like
Here's the reason. I forget that that's Jack Nicholson.
yeah.
If you had said Adam Sandler, I would have gotten it.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to give it away because
I forget that Jack Nicholson's in that movie because it's such a good performance.
Small. Like, yeah, because Jack Nicholson did amazing. Adam Sandler did like very different from his regular comedic characters because he wasn't very. He's usually off the wall, but in this movie, he's very reserved through almost the whole thing. Like, it's also one of the best love interests because Marissa Tomei is like beautiful in that movie. And just like the best girlfriend he could possibly ask for.
Adam Sandler is one of those very divisive actors, but I think here's my opinion with him. I honestly think he's a better dramatic actor than he is for most comedy.
Yeah. Wait, did you get to see Uncut Gems?
I haven't seen Uncut Gems. I need to see that.
It's on Netflix.
But if you've ever seen Punch Drunk Love or which Anger Management is kind of that same vein where it's comedy, but like he's also like kind of got some heart. Or there's the movie where he plays a firefighter that his family died in 9/11.
Oh,
I can't remember the name of that movie, but it's a good one.
I know what you're. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called though.
Anger Management is one of those ones where he goes just far enough.
Yeah,
you know, where it's like it's not to the point where it's gonna like divide people.
Yeah.
But it's still going to have his brand to it, his humor to it.
And I like it because to me it's good on every level that I can look at it because the soundtrack for that movie to me is amazing. The twist and like the story of that movie flows so well and is amazing.
That movie is much like Reservoir Dogs where you have no idea where this is going. You think
like,
you know where this is going and you have no idea where this is going.
You honestly like watching the movie, you don't think that there's going to be many twists. You think that it's very straightforward, that it's just a guy like that has bad luck, but the longer you watch the movie, the more angry you get for Adam Sandler's character.
Yeah.
Like, because usually Adam Sandler plays characters that make a lot of mistakes and do a lot of dumb stuff, and it's like, you don't really feel bad for him because he brings a lot of stuff on himself. But in Anger Management, he's like the most innocent character in the whole movie, the innocent bystander who just gets everything done to him.
It's a lot like Big Lebowski in that same sense, where it's like you're just a dude who's like,
yeah,
you were put in this scenario.
And just like I said, the soundtrack is good because they also use each song to set the tone of the scenes very well. Like, very first song that plays is Heart of Glass, and it's like a scene where he's a kid. And then they use Black Magic Woman in a bar scene, and they use Ice Cream Man in a bar fight scene. Yeah. And just like, I remember, it's such a great movie.
I've definitely seen this movie. I remember it. It's just been a bit. I need to rewatch it. We should do a commentary.
Honestly, like, I would love that because it's, like I said, it's for some reason not very big in Adam Sandler's catalog, even though I believe it's one of his best movies. But I feel like that's also good for me because since it's my favorite movie, I get to show it to people and just like watch them either love it or hate it. But
yeah,
most of the time, people I show it to like it because it's a pretty good movie. All right, you're number one. I already know it.
Go ahead and say it.
Pulp Fiction.
It's Pulp Fiction. I know that this movie is like a lot of people's like favorite movie, but there's a reason.
Yeah,
it's because this movie is good. All right, this movie's really good.
Out of all reasons to have a favorite movie,
goes to extremes. It takes everything that was in Reservoir Dogs and cranks it to 11. it is his style incarnated. I like, and from the opening scene of or the opening point of the movie, where it's like a pulp, a globulus or a mass or whatever, it's just like a formless mass or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that first scene where it's like you see it's Honey and Bunny, I think are their names. And they're just talking and you're like, all right. And then you go through the rest of the movie, you forget they're there. You forget because like they don't show back up until the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And when they show back up, you're like, oh, this is where it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Because for a while in the movie, you're just presented all these characters and all these scenarios, and you're like, it's all one story, but it's all everyone else's story.
Yeah.
Me and my friends will quote this movie to me and Malachi could recite this movie together.
Yeah.
It is this is how much I like this movie. My wallet is the bad motherfucker wallet. It was a gift I got when I graduated cuz I like this movie.
Yeah.
It puts these characters that you like, and it puts them in these insane situations, and it's like, and you see how they react, which is not how normal people react.
Yeah.
When John Travolta, like turns in the backseat, mild spoilers, I guess, but when John Travolta turns in the backseat and is like talking, and it's like, do you believe the God came down from heaven and stopped that bullet, and then accidentally shoots the guy in the head?
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, and he's just like, any other person would be freaking out, but he's just like, oh shit, I shot Marvin in the face.
That's another thing about that movie. Like, speaking of,
it's just another day at the
Travolta.
office for Jules and Vincent.
Yeah, it's like that's like you said about Reservoir Dogs. Like, you think characters are safe, and then just suddenly like something happens, and you're like,
nope, you're done.
And it turns like no character is too tough to have something bad happen to him or anything like that. Like, there's a lot.
The thing that stands out most about that movie to me is that it will just keep going with everything. When you think that's like, oh, this is a movie, they'll normally stop. They won't show this or they won't do that. No, this movie doesn't give a fuck. This movie does not.
Someone gets shot through the head and the blood spatter and
Oh,
everything.
that the
happens multiple times actually.
The certain assault scene.
Oh,
with the gimp and
dude, that one, like, I know it's like a
when
messed
I
up
first
scene,
saw
but
that,
makes me kind of laugh.
Blew my fucking mind because I'm like, you couldn't see this kind of stuff in movies.
Like, and like I said about the characters being like too tough for stuff to happen to that, like, I would not have expected a character like that to be put in that situation,
that scenario,
and they just like juxtaposition these two like strange ideas, and it works so
and
well.
You see how he reacts to it.
Yeah,
it was like, oh my gosh, and you see it goes, it just goes all over. It's like so good.
No matter how messed up you are, there's always somebody more messed up and crazy than you are, and it's
everything messed up. And it's the same thing with Reservoir Dogs, where it's like reality but hyper reality.
Yeah.
So you're in a reality that like is just far enough on the edge where you can go as extreme as logistically possible, but you don't fall over the edge into like fantasy.
Yeah.
You're grounded in a reality, in your world. The rules are set. You abide by them, and that makes stakes.
Yeah.
That ups these scenarios for these characters.
Yeah.
All right. Should we go through our honorable mentions, because we forgot to do that on the?
I was about to say I can just name a few of my honorable mentions, but I won't do any like reviewing for them.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. You want to go first, or?
I know that Endgame made it to my honorable mentions because, like I said, I loved Infinity War more for those reasons. But in the movie theater, like, that Endgame brought me tears too, and it just like it elicited so many amazing reactions, and it was like, I'm so glad I saw that in the movie theater, because that's a movie that deserves to be on the big screen. Yeah. I guess I don't know. I can't think of many.
I've got 11.
Yeah, I was about to say you can go through yours,
and you're gonna see these. And it's like, oh yeah, how is that not on your list?
Yeah.
Star Wars. I just put blanket. statement for Star Wars, and we'll get
That's
into
definitely
why
mine.
it's not on my movies list when we
Yeah.
do our favorite TV shows. And people who've seen certain properties know what I'm talking
Yeah, I was
about.
about to say. I think I know.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, John Wick, Alien, RoboCop, Back to the Future, Shin Godzilla, The Last Unicorn. I accidentally put Who Framed Roger Rabbit twice, and Parasite. So I had
Okay.
10. Parasite almost made it on because it was so hard for some of these not to get on that list.
Yeah.
Like Shin Godzilla was so close because like I'm a huge Godzilla fan, but it was like I love Godzilla, but like it was just there was too many good things to put on this list. If you
Yeah.
give me a top 15, yeah, I would have gone into it more. But
See, I guess like some of the honorable mentions, because a lot of your honorable mentions I definitely would put on mine, but I mean, and some ones you didn't do. The Truman Show. I know
Truman
that
Show.
you haven't seen that
I haven't
yet,
seen that
but
one.
awesome movie. And like I said, it really does redeem Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that's maybe I need to see that one.
Because you've seen most of his like off the wall comedy stuff, but seeing him act in serious or maybe kind of goofy but not exactly comedic roles is really really good.
Well, that's yeah. Maybe my opinion can change. We'll figure it out.
And Wonder Woman is probably on my honorable mentions.
Wonder
I like
Woman.
that movie a lot. I don't know.
I'm good with Wonder Woman until the third act.
Ares' costume. Or
Ares
design
shouldn't have
was
been
just
in that
kinda
movie.
stupid.
Ares should have been this thing that like didn't actually. That's
I
another.
was okay with him being in the movie. I just didn't like the way they designed like they
No, the costume's awful. It's
like the
bad.
mustache showing through the helmet was
It's-
probably one of not as bad as Superman's mouth in Justice League, but on par with that
Forgot
level
about
of
the
just like
mustache.
gross.
All right, I think. Any
Yeah.
more?
Huh? I think we're good.
We're good. Sing us off.
Should I really be?